Hello and welcome to Real Menopause Talk. My guest today is Kate Oakley. Kate went from 25 years in human resources to becoming a personal trainer, and she credits perimenopause with the mindset shift that took her from "I'm too old" to "why the hell not?" In this episode, we discuss how best to exercise, weight management, and what really works and why, the surprising progress that can be made, and where to begin. Hi, Kate. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too.
How are you doing?
I'm really well, thank you. Yeah, I'm good.
Would you like to start by telling everybody a little bit about you?
Yes, sure. So I'm a personal trainer for women in menopause, so perimenopause and postmenopause. I'm 52 and I qualified just 2 years ago. My first career was in HR. So I was in HR for 25 years. So you couldn't get more different, really. Corporate career, as in all the suits and the posh shoes and going into an office every day, flying to fun places, and then made the big change at age 50, just before lockdown. And I knew I wanted to work with this group of women. I just knew I could make a difference to them.
What made you decide to go from HR into personal training?
Yes, it's quite a leap, isn't it? I've always trained. I've always kept fit. It's always been a big part of my life. But I only considered changing career in my 40s. I was happy in HR. I loved it. I loved the side of it that made a difference to people. And I've always vowed to myself that if I didn't love what I did, that I would do something about it. I never wanted to be that person on a Sunday night that gets that feeling of dread about work on a Monday. I just think life is too short to have that feeling. If you can change it, I appreciate some people, it's about putting food on the table and they don't have that privilege perhaps. But if I could change it, I thought I would. And in my 40s, I did start to think, I need to change my work-life balance. Shall I look into personal training? And I talked myself out of it. I thought I was too old, that no one would take me seriously, that I was having a laugh. I was kidding myself. Who would want a personal trainer in their 40s? And I didn't even tell anyone. I didn't tell my husband that I was even thinking about it. No one. I just shut myself down and said, get over yourself, crack on with being in HR. So I went freelance because that gave me a better work-life balance. So I went freelance HR. And I credit the perimenopause for a shift heading towards 50, for a change in mindset, because I was starting to, that feeling on a Sunday night was starting to creep in, that I didn't want to go and do that HR job the next day. And instead of thinking now I was too old to go and retrain and become a personal trainer, I thought, why the hell not? And I thought, you know what? What's the worst that can happen if I retrain? And what's the best that can happen? And I'm happy to say that, as far as I'm concerned, the best has happened. And I have got clients and I'm running retreats and all sorts of things. And I think perimenopause created that shift where I care less about what people think about me. I am also happier with my own level of ambition. Whereas I think in my 30s, even up to my 40s, I always wanted to be, aim for the sky, aim for the top. And I thought, now I've hit kind of 50 in my early 50s, I'm happy with where I'm at. I don't need to be the next Davina McCall owning, my own app and, on national TV. And I don't need to do that. I just want to be making a difference to women in peri and postmenopause. And that is reward enough for me. So, yeah, perimenopause. Thank you.
How did perimenopause initially show up for you?
Well, that's an interesting question because I have to use the benefit of hindsight to answer it, because like many women of our generation, I didn't even know the expression perimenopause in my 40s, never heard of it. I thought menopause was something probably was going to happen in, I don't know, late 50s, honestly, it's embarrassing to say it, but I probably thought it was late 50s, 60s, early 60s. I thought your period stopped and you had some hot sweats and some night sweats, and that was it. It was only when I started to do my own research into it with a view to changing career, that I was then able to look back and think, gosh, actually I had symptoms earlier than I thought. So certainly body temperature. No, it wasn't normal when everyone else is freezing in the house for me to be sat outside in the freezing cold in a bra. You know, my kids were like, Mum, what are you doing? I'm boiling. Is there no one else boiling? I look back and think, gosh, that was actually late 40s that was happening. And at night time, I was struggling to sleep. So, very disturbed sleep, a bit more anxiety creeping in, didn't want to drive at night, that sort of thing. But the biggest thing for me was mood changes. I was starting to feel emotional at one point, close to depressed the next. Then I'd be in tears, then I'd be angry, and it was a roller coaster, and I never knew what was coming next. And that got worse and worse whilst I was kind of around 49, 50. And I thought, I can't carry on like this. And I was doing lots of the things that I think are right in perimenopause. So, as is obvious, I was exercising, good nutrition. I made some tweaks to it. I was already the change of career has helped my stress levels, but the mood swings, I did go and see the doctor at that point and look at HRT. And for me, it has been HRT that's changed things for me and got my moods back under control, let's say.
Well, you very much wanted to take charge yourself. So exercising already, obviously. Did you change that at all? And what tweaks did you make then to your nutrition?
Yes, I did. I did change my exercise. I was doing more HIIT style, so high intensity interval training. So quite, short, sharp bursts. It felt good at the time, but then gradually I was feeling it. It wasn't sitting right with my body. It was starting to feel just too much of an assault on my body, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And that was before I understood what was actually going on physiologically. So that was just a feeling. And I also started to feel that I was perhaps only one step away from an injury because the movements are so fast paced. You move from that move into the next move. You're doing a burpee and then into a jump squat and then into mountain climbers. And there's not very much that's slow and controlled about it. And I thought, careful, you could be about to cause yourself an injury here. And then I did the research and then I understood that what is going on with those kind of workouts is that actually they can create too much stress on the body and you're getting that cortisol spike. And I thought, and that's what's not feeling right for me is this big cortisol spike. I'm all about the endorphin rush, yes, and I'll get that in another way. So I actually reduced my HIIT workouts to just once a week. And for a lot of women, by the way, those HIIT workouts can be a reason for weight gain. Mm-hmm. I find that fascinating. And I get messages saying, but I'm still doing my HIIT 5 days a week and I'm running and why is it not working for me anymore? I've always been able to manage my weight using that method before. Why is it not working anymore? And I'll explain about this cortisol and the insulin spike, which then if it's not being used, can be stored away as fat. That side of it didn't happen for me, but certainly it just felt too much of a stressful assault on my body. So I do much more resistance training. Personally, for myself, I do 3 or 4 resistance training sessions a week and I go spinning. That's my kind of cardio endorphin rush. But again, it's just more controlled. And then I do Pilates. I do a reformer Pilates. So I know I do a lot. I do exercise generally kind of 5-6 times a week with a day of rest. Absolutely non-negotiable. Have to have a day of rest. So I've tweaked it that way. But I have degenerative disc disease, which I only got diagnosed after I'd become a personal trainer. So wow. I thought, oh my gosh. Yes, I got really severe back pain to the point where I was finding it hard to get to stand up out of a chair or in and out of a car. Even walking with a flare-up was difficult. And I saw various people, cut a long story short, had an MRI, and it's a degenerating disc. It can be caused just by wear and tear. They said it could be from a fall from a horse when you were a kid, which I did. So I have to manage that every day and work with that. So running, I can't really run anymore. That aggravates it. So spinning, swimming, cycling is all good. Pilates. And then the resistance training, is really slow, mindful and controlled. And I love that.
I think one of the things that women struggle with at this point, this tipping point, I suppose, of life, is that they have a method for losing weight or staying in shape or feeling fit, depending on what their goal is. And suddenly it doesn't work. But just like you said with the cortisol spikes, running every day for half an hour, unless it gives you the endorphins, which for some people it actually does. But for many, it is just stressful. And I do think when I see runners in the morning, sometimes they look like they're in pain. They look miserable. But that is not to dismiss it. I respect people who do run. It's not my thing.
I heard yesterday, Hattie, someone say, "Have you ever seen a happy looking runner?" that did make me laugh a little bit. I think they laugh when they get home and it's done.
Yes, exactly. And actually, I did see one girl yesterday who was smiling and running, having literally thought it over and over recently to myself. I thought, oh no, you're enjoying it. This is good. But then being able to find something else that does give you those endorphins, give you that satisfaction, and still use your body is so important. Another thing is the nutrition. And I know we've briefly touched on it. Growing up, the focus for me, and I remember so clearly, aged 15, a friend of mine's mother gave me a number of how many kilos I should weigh.
Oh my goodness.
And I still remember, I remember what she was wearing. I remember where she was standing. And for that period of time until I was about 40, I was chasing this number. I mean, I barely knew the woman, but this number seemed to be very significant. Actually, it was really unhealthy for my height, and I don't know that I've ever achieved it. In recent years, I have learnt that the number is really not the only tool in the box. Certainly, for some people, it is useful, but for other people, it can influence your day. You could wake up, find the number, and be miserable if it's not what you want it to be, or elated if it is closer to what you're looking for. How do you help women move away from the number on the scales and maybe tweak their nutrition?
Yeah, I think this is so important, and I've shared a few posts on this on my Instagram about ditching the scales. And I think, our generation, we were brought up with them, weren't we? With the weigh-ins. So there were these slimming clubs with weekly weigh-ins. So that was, public humiliation as well. I mean, what a way to approach living a healthy, fit lifestyle. Almost the fear of having to stand up in front of everyone and everyone know whether the scales have gone up or down. We were brought up with scales are important. So I think for a lot of women, it's habit, because I'll say, how often do you weigh yourself, if at all? Oh, well, every day. Oh, why do you do that? Well, to see what I weigh. Well, do you think it's going to be that different today from yesterday? Not really. So why do you do it then? Ah, well, habit. And so it's a habit they've got into. The scales are in the bathroom, right there, and you're brushing your teeth, and it's a habit to get onto them. From the comments I've had on the posts I've shared, I would say it's what you've just described there as when people, getting on them and you have either a good day or a bad day. I would say 9 times out of 10, they're bad for mental health. Because I've had so many women say, I was in a perfectly good mood, then I got on the scales, and then that's it. My day was ruined. Because they've put on a couple of pounds or something, which they maybe don't know could just be water retention. It could be whether they've been, had a bowel movement that morning, time in your cycle. So many different things could be attributing to that. So I do really, really try and get people to move away from the scales because I don't see them as an indicator of good health. I do, when I'm working with people on a 12-week program, full disclosure, I do ask them to weigh themselves just once a week at the same time, the same day each week, but on the understanding it's a teeny tiny piece of the jigsaw. And really, it's just for me to pop it into the overall picture and see what's happening. I want to make sure people aren't losing weight in a way that I'm not happy with, that they're not gaining weight in a way that I'm not expecting, but that's it. So it's a tiny piece of the jigsaw. And I think the reason people are able to move away is because I reinforce actually other metrics. So, their goals, I think like all of us, mostly we want to live a long, fit, healthy life. Is the scale going to tell you that you're on track to achieve that goal? No. Becoming stronger. Again, the scales don't tell you that one way or the other. Good bone health in perimenopause, that's something we really need to start thinking about. Again, it's not going to help. Lean muscle, that's an interesting one. So a lot of clients think that the scales are going to go down to this magic number, and that's what's going to tell them that they've got this lean muscle. No, I mean, I've got a client right now, she's lost 28 centimeters from her body in 8 weeks, and the scales have not done perhaps what she thought they might. She doesn't care anymore. She literally doesn't care anymore because she is down a dress size. She's lost 28 centimeters because the muscle is more compact than fat.
Mm-hmm.
You'll often hear people say, well, fat weighs more than muscle. Obviously, a pound of muscle weighs the same as a pound of fat. A pound is a pound, but the muscle is more compact. So because they're creating this lean muscle through resistance training, through good nutrition, through adding in some cardio, they become smaller. So they are fitting into that pair of jeans that they love and want to go out in. So I get pictures of women, look at me in my jeans, look at me in my beautiful dress. And once they start to see those moments, the scales just don't have that hold on them anymore. And they look in the mirror and they like what they see, because not only do they see, it's not about just the aesthetic, but they see a strong woman. And that's magical for me, that move away from the scales and that focus onto, I feel amazing. I feel capable of just about anything. I'm in control. I feel strong. I'm creating lean muscle, and I'm going to have a fit, healthy, long life. Those little things in the bathroom, they shove them in the loft or get rid of them.
I hope I can hear lots of smashing of scales or throwing them out of the window right now, because there is nothing like feeling stronger. And when you feel powerful, that's priceless.
Absolutely. It really is. And I think anyone listening who's thinking, well, I don't use any weights right now, or you don't have to be going to a gym and hanging out with the big guys and the big barbells. I just do workouts in my garden. As you know, it's a pair of dumbbells, maybe some resistance bands in your garden or in your living room is absolutely enough. And little exercise snacks throughout the day as well. It doesn't have to be these great big long workouts, which I think can just feel overwhelming. If you don't do any of this now, when you see these long 45-minute workouts, you think, well, I'm never going to be there. It's hard to get started. So yeah, I would encourage anyone just to get started with 5-10 minutes.
Certainly during lockdown, even the big guys with the barbells use resistance bands. There is a lot of power in a resistance band when you know how to use it. So going back to your point then, if a woman comes to you and she is anxious about exercise, perhaps it's not been something she's used to for most of her life, how does she begin? With 5 minutes, 10 minutes, yes, but how would she start?
Well, every woman is very different. So their starting point is always very different. I often start with walking and setting small goals. So again, though, you hear this magic number, 10,000 steps a day. Well, I'm not going to say start with 10,000 steps a day if at the moment you're not walking at all. Mm-hmm. That, again, is going to feel impossible, unachievable, and overwhelming. So I would ask someone to track how many steps they are doing right now. And if it's 3,000 a day, perhaps they have a sedentary job, perhaps they have some joint pain, perhaps they have fatigue as one of their symptoms, then we would start with, let's try and make that 3,000, 3,500. And that would be a goal for a week. If they achieve it, that feels good. And I think it's all about setting up for success. So rather than think, oh gosh, because we're so hard on ourselves, aren't we? So this internal dialogue, God, I'm useless. I can only manage 3,000 steps a day. I know other people are doing look at Instagram. Just set yourself small steps. And honestly, it works. Little steps and succeeding at them make us feel good. And then we're ready to take that next little step. So I say start with walking. And then I would say just starting with what I might call an exercise snack. So it might be doing something while you're brushing your teeth. So maybe some body weight squats while you're brushing your teeth. 2 minutes, that's 4 minutes a day. That's 28 minutes a week of exercise you weren't doing before. See how that feels. That'll feel good. You'll feel good. You think, gosh, by the end of the week, I'm doing these and it feels a lot better than it did at the start of the week. Do you know, I think I might add this on now, building slowly but surely, and you will get there, believe me.
And noticing how it is at the beginning and then maybe a week later or certainly 3 weeks later. I've been enjoying your wall sit challenge while cleaning your teeth in the evening.
Have you been doing it?
I have, only in the evenings. That's only just occurred to me. Why am I not doing it in the mornings? I think probably because my head is full of the day ahead. But yes, and it does. It gets easier and easier the more you do something, as with repetition of anything, whether it's playing the piano or lifting weights.
It does, but it's quicker than you think. I have clients who do this 12-week program with me, and I do write down, I do these little tests, like, can you do a press up on your knees or on your knees against the sofa, let's say? Can you do a sit up, a wall sit? And I will write that down. And then 4 weeks later, we'll do them again. And 4 weeks later again. And no one can ever remember where they were before. I've just done for a couple of clients, they were at 8 weeks and they couldn't do a single press up on their knees. And now they're doing 12, 15 full press ups, full ones on their toes.
That's amazing.
Things like that. Or they couldn't do a single sit up all the way in a minute. I timed it over a minute. And now they're doing 20, 22, 23. And you say, how many could you do 8 weeks ago? Oh, I don't know. Only a few. None. Really? Could I not do one? No, you couldn't do one. Now look at you. And that feels amazing. And that's in weeks. Yes, it takes consistency and work. Like the wall sit, if you do it every day, yes, you'll see improvements. If you do it on day 1, day 4, and day 7, not so much. So yes, it takes consistency, but it doesn't take as long as you might think to feel strong, to feel powerful, to see a difference in yourself physically, but also mentally, I think is the most important thing.
And I always think, well, the time is going to go by anyway. So I could stand and clean my teeth and daydream, or I could sit against the wall and clean my teeth and half daydream as well. And either way, the time is going to pass. So do I want to feel like I'm progressing on something or achieving something? Do you know what? Some days, no. But most of the time, and getting past that, do I feel like it? Don't overthink it, just do it. That makes a difference. So that's something that I get asked a lot is, where do you find your motivation?
Yes, that's such an interesting question. I've been thinking about this quite a lot lately. People say, I've lost my motivation. I used to be motivated. I'm no longer motivated. How do I get it back? I would like to say, first of all, if you're perimenopausal and you've got all these different symptoms going on top of normal stresses of life, perhaps teenage kids, aging parents with dementia seems to be, I would say, 1 in 4 of people I know right now, and work and cost of living crisis and the rest of it. It can feel hard to put this exercise and making the right nutrition choices, making sure you're sleeping enough and all of that to the top of the list. I do appreciate that. But waiting for this kind of magic to happen, if you're sat at home on the sofa, watching Netflix thinking, God, just where's my motivation? Just don't have any. Am I going to do any exercise tomorrow? I don't think it's going to happen. I know that's a really bold thing to say, but I think you just have to do it. Mm-hmm. You have to just make yourself do it. And I know that's hard, but I don't think there is this magic sprinkle dust of motivation. Does that make sense?
It does, because I feel like a real old witch when sometimes I say the same. Sometimes you don't have motivation. I'm a real overthinker and I can procrastinate for days. And it's like, oh, well, if I do this, if I don't do that. Whereas if I just stop and go, right, this is what you're going to do. Just do it. And then it's done.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a habit.
I think that's the thing. So just doing it. And I play little games with myself, little mind games. So let's say I'm thinking, because I exercise outside and if it's rainy and cold, it doesn't look very inviting. And I think, well, okay, let's say you're thinking your plan was to do 30 minutes. I'll say to myself, well, just go and do 5 or 10. And you can call it, you can stop it at 10 if you're just not feeling it. I go and do the 10 minutes. Guess what? I get to 9. I'm thinking, yeah, it's not so bad actually. Well, I'll just do another 10 and see how I feel. Do the next 10. So and lo and behold, I get the 30 in and it's job done. So I will play little games like that. And I know when I was able to run, I would play a game. Right, I'm just going to run as far as the next lamppost and take it from there. Run to the next lamppost. I'll just go as far as the letterbox, get to the letterbox. So again, you can always stop. So just getting out there and doing it rather than waiting for this magic sprinkle dust of motivation, I think is the key. But what then happens, and I see this because I have the benefit of watching people kind of come through all of this journey with my clients, is that really hard dig deep and make yourself do it moment becomes less and less and less, because you like the fact that you feel stronger. And because you like the fact you feel stronger, you are not finding it's hard to go out and do that workout. Because you went out on Saturday evening, wore that dress that you felt fabulous in, and people commented, you're glowing, you look like you're standing taller, your posture, wow, yeah, your shoulders are up, wow, okay, that's because I've been doing all of this. Then it gets easier. So all of those little things make it easier to get out there and do it. And I know perhaps people listening will think, well, sounds good in theory. Honestly, I've seen it play out. So I'm not just talking about myself. Obviously, I've chosen to do this as a career. Clearly, I like exercise. I'm not going to pretend I don't. I like it, mostly for my mental health. That's the main reason that I've always exercised throughout my life. But I'd be lying if I didn't say how I like it. It makes me feel physically. I've seen it play out with so many clients now over the last couple of years. And they're honest with me. Some will say, yeah, I can't say I enjoy this, Kate, but they know they want to do it for their long-term health. That's why they've made the commitment and the investment in using someone like me. And then there's this moment and everything falls into place. And they say, gosh, do you know what? Actually, I'm really relishing, like words like relishing. I'm relishing these workouts now. Or do you know what? I was doing one at home the other day, Kate, and I promised my partner that I was going to watch something on TV with him, but I have more left in the tank. I really wanted to do another 10 minutes. And I think, okay, it's clicked now. Yes. Something's fallen into place. So it will get easier. Those dig deep, make yourself do it moments will become less and less, and you'll just do it and it'll be part of who you are. I mean, that's why I talk about with my program, we are learning forever skills. They're part of a forever lifestyle. It's not a health kick or a fitness drive. I don't believe in those. This is about creating a lifestyle that is your forever lifestyle, and it has exercise in it.
What are you doing that is non-negotiable for you on top of exercise that sees you through this particular life phase?
And outside of HRT, because that has changed things for me, but that's just one piece of the jigsaw as well. Stress management, I think. Yeah, and recognizing I need to manage it. I had IBS for a long, long time, about 15 years, really, really chronic. Ended up in hospital a few times with it. I knew it was stress related, but I didn't know how much until the day I resigned. It cleared up. I hadn't even left the job yet, and it was the day I resigned. So I'm aware just how much stress can impact me. And in perimenopause, I know I need to be kind to myself. I need to speak to myself like I would a friend. So if I think, do you know what? No, I'm not going to take on that many clients because it's going to stress me out because I'm just going to be too busy. I can almost feel the anxiety just thinking of that. We can be so tough on ourselves and say, oh God, don't be pathetic. 5 years ago, you wouldn't have batted an eyelid at doing that. I'm not 5 years ago. I'm now, and I need to speak to myself as I would a friend. I'd never say to a friend, oh, come on, don't be ridiculous. You can manage more than that. No, I need to manage my stress. So I do that by saying no to things, accepting when things are too much, and not being afraid to say that is another big thing. And also I do breath work. So I started breath work in perimenopause. Meditation didn't work so well for me because I find it hard to sit still. But breath work has been a bit of a lifesaver, and I always have a better day and a more positive day on the days I do it than the days I don't. So I'd recommend that.
Kate, where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram at Your Future Fit, and website is still in progress. It keeps dropping to the bottom of the to-do list, but it will be done in the next couple of months. So that will be yourfuturefit.com. But for the moment, find me on Instagram. I'm on Facebook too, but I'm much more active on Instagram. So people can find short workouts on there, 6 to 12 minutes that they can repeat if they feel up to it. And I'm happy to answer any questions if people want to message me.
It is a wonderful resource that you have, and all your workouts and your messages to people are really fabulous and very motivational and actually great fun as well.
Oh, thank you.
Kate, thank you so much for your time. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
I will leave Kate's Instagram details in the show notes. Follow us on the podcast app of your choice, hit subscribe, and please leave a review as it helps others discover us. You can also subscribe to our newsletter by visiting the website realmenopausetalk.com, scroll down and hit subscribe. Thank you for listening. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.